How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's video. In today's video, guys, I want to be sharing my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences, all that good stuff on making the transition from console gaming to PC gaming. Now, there are two things I want to mention before I start this video out right now, and that is number one, I am only talking about having fun, recreational, hobbyist, whatever you want to call it, that type of gaming. I don't do this competitively. I don't do esports. I don't do tournaments. I don't professionally stream. I don't do any of that. This is all strictly for fun. So I won't be giving you guys a ton of like super in-depth comparisons in terms of every different performance aspect and all the nerdy stuff that I could go into detail with, but I'm just not. Now, I will give you some information in terms of performance, but that is not going to be as in-depth as I could do in a separate video. Now, the other thing I want to note is that I'm going to be talking about FPS games or first-person shooter games, and mainly I'm going to be talking about Call of Duty. Now, I haven't had this PC for more than half a year, so that's the reason that I can't speak on other genres of games, as I only have played Call of Duty on this, and I don't want to talk about anything that I'm not experienced with. So I hope you can respect that. I hope you enjoyed this video. With that being said, let's get right into my 3 likes and my 3 dislikes on making this transition from console gaming to PC gaming. So let's start with my likes. My first like is FOV. Now, FOV stands for field of view, if you don't already know. Basically, it's how much information, how much image you can see on your screen at one time. And so with PCs, you do have the option on Call of Duty specifically. Other games, you might have the option to change this on console, but on Call of Duty specifically, you don't have the option to change your field of view like you do on a PC. So on a PC, I can increase my field of view, I can see more, and in this clip, I will show you an example, a real life example of how that works. Now, this is not my footage. This was taken by somebody else. It's a squad in Warzone. One of them's dead. One of them's still alive. The one that's alive is playing console. As you can see, he's scaling the side of this building. His friend gives him a call out saying he's probably gonna be peeking the top of that building, which in fact he was. He peeked over the top, he went down on him, buried him, and just like that, he's dead. He did not see where the shots were coming from. Now we're gonna switch to the PC player who is spectating this console player. The PC player sees him scale the side of this building. He's looking around, all of a sudden he gets lasered, doesn't know where the shots come. PC player did. He saw him pop up right at the top, as you can see. And in this situation now, even if he saw him, he probably would not have won that gunfight, but it's just the simple fact that he had the opportunity to see where his enemy was, whereas the console player had no shot at all. So I've noticed that. I mean, I'm playing on an ultra-wide monitor. I have a wide field of view already, and this option just increases that and makes it even better, and I have that slight advantage that console players don't. So like number 2 is customization. Now, keyboard obviously has a lot of buttons. A mouse, if you get a gaming mouse, has a lot of buttons, and I can customize and map those buttons to do basically anything I want them to do. That is just a nice feature to have if and when I want them. I messed around with it quite a bit, but if I wanted that same functionality and comparable functionality that the keyboard and mouse has to a controller, I'd have to spend a lot of money on a controller like a SCUF or a C40, that sort of thing, and I just don't feel like that's worth it right now, whereas a keyboard and mouse has that right out of the box regardless. So that is a nice benefit right there. And third one, and the most important one probably to me, is the power and the speed. So like I said, I wasn't gonna throw a ton of numbers out at you, but I will throw a few that I think are important. And that is, the first one is I play with my PS4 Pro as my console. That can only play at a 16:9 aspect ratio. I play it on this ultra wide monitor. It can't play on the full screen size of that monitor. It crops it in because it can only play at that 16:9 aspect ratio. An ultra wide aspect ratio is 21:9, and so it gives me crop bars on the side of my game, so I can't even utilize the whole screen when I'm playing on my PS4 Pro. Not only that, but the PS4 Pro can only play at 4K, upscaled 4K, which isn't even true 4K, and it's only at 30 frames per second. So your frames per second aren't as fast, aren't as many rather, and you don't have that full capability to use all of your monitor that I have. Now, if you don't have an ultra-wide monitor, this might not affect you as much, but at the end of the day, the PC can play at that 21:9 ratio, and you have the opportunity to play at 4K with 120 hertz refresh rate, which is way more powerful than my PS4 Pro ever would be able to amount to. Obviously, it costs more, but at the end of the day, it's something that in a performance bump, it is just way too much to not mention. So that is definitely my biggest compliment and benefit that comes with this PC. So with that being said, guys, I know it might sound like it's, you know, all lollipops and rainbows. At the end of the day, it's not. You know, I have 3 different dislikes that I don't like. The first one being player mechanics and player speed and movement. So with a FPS game, Call of Duty, you can't afford to have slow reaction time. And it's not the fact that my reaction time is slow, like my mind knows what it wants it to do, I can't do it with my hands, right? Like I could execute it on a controller, but I couldn't on a keyboard and mouse because the buttons I just was not familiar with. Now, it's worth noting that I spent 2 months just ritually using keyboard and mouse. No matter how many times I died, no matter how many times I got pissed off, I did not pick the controller up and play on controller just because I wanted to try to get it down. And so what I experienced was I could not get it down the way I wanted to. And with that timing, it's the difference between you watching for the rest of the round because you're dead in Search and Destroy, or you're playing for the rest of the round. And I found myself watching my friends play more than I was playing myself, and it just got frustrating. And it's just because you don't know the buttons. You know in your head what you want it to do, but you can't with your hands get them to do what you want to do, like sliding and tactical movements like strafing and drop shotting and jumping and all that sort of player mechanic stuff. It was just a really big learning curve, and I normally pick up on things pretty quick, so this is just something that I found. You might be different, but for me it was just a really hard thing to get used to. Second one was accuracy, and that kind of goes into player mechanics and movements, but accuracy, what I found was at long range I have a very high sensitivity because I use a very high sensitivity on my controller. I use a very high sensitivity on my mouse, and at long range a small movement with my hand with the mouse was a big movement, and so like I had to keep it right on them, but I couldn't because I was basically just sending warning shots because my hands were moving too much. You almost had to be very, very, very still. And so at short range, because I just had to move a little bit, I could flick on people really, really quick. If somebody got behind me, I'm like shipment or something, we crossed paths, and I could turn and I could flick on them. But to combat that with the long range, I had to slow my sensitivity down, and when I slowed my sensitivity down for long range shooting, short range, if a player got up on me too close, I had to pick the mouse up and put it down and like rotate it like this just to get my guy to turn. And by that time I already had a 725 with my cheeks and I was done. So it gets very, very frustrating trying to find that balance of accuracy. And so that segues me to my third dislike, and that is the fact that I got motion sick actually playing this. Like I didn't get like full sick, but like my stomach, it was sick to my stomach more often than not playing on mouse. And I think it's because the movements are a little bit more jerky, and I wasn't used to that, versus like I was playing at a high sensitivity on my controller, but my movements were more gradual and fluid. And so that might be something you experience, it might not be. It's just something that I think is worth mentioning because it actually did inhibit the amount of time I was able to play the game and how often I was able to play the game, because I didn't want to experience that sick feeling. So with that being said, what is the verdict? Would I pick my PS4 Pro or would I pick my PC? And in all honesty, guys, I'd pick the PC for this game specifically. I'm going to keep my PS4 Pro because there's a lot of games that I want to play on it, like The Last of Us, like Ghost of Tsushima, if I said that right, that sort of stuff. There's just a lot of exclusives that I like on my PS4 Pro that I'll continue playing. But in terms of with Call of Duty, I think I get a way bigger benefit out of it rather than on my PC, rather than my PS4 Pro. So I will not be using my keyboard and mouse with it. Like I said, I used it ritually. I put custom games together with bots. I practiced and I just could not get it down. It was a very, very big learning curve. You might have the opportunity to be better at it right out of the box than me. I couldn't get it down. It's just something that I wanted to share as a recreational hobbyist player, if you will, that I experienced while making this transition from console all my life to PC. So that is just something I want to let you guys know. I hope that you found it informative. If you did, please hit that like button as it helps me out. Hit that subscribe button to help me grow this channel. Hit that notification bell so you can see more videos like this in the future. And I want to thank you guys for all the support and watching this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!